Hi, I'm Samantha Barra Campos, and I'm going to present my evidence 2 talking about the cultural challenge of globalization of gender inequality. So, first, we need to understand the problem and how this affects people all around the world. So, first, some basic information. Every day, hundreds of cases on gender inequality are presented all around the world, and although it is assumed that progress has been made as a society in some countries, yes, but in most of the countries of the world, enormous inequalities continue to exist. First, we're not going to talk about a lot of like all the different genders because, well, there's a big difference between gender and sex, and people doesn't care to know that difference. Sex is more the biological thing, like our genitals, our chromosomes. That is sex, but gender is a social construct that, well, society has made. That there are only two genders, false. No, there's not only men and women, there's also people that doesn't identify as any of them, and a lot of other things, but we're going to like only focus on all the social inequalities, like in general, not talking about like, oh, this gender have more social inequalities than this. No, no, we're going to talk about like in general. So, for data and statistics, here we can appreciate some global data about the gender gap in different areas of or sub-indexes of the year 2022. And in this one, here we can see like the sorry, that the closer that it's to 100% is like, well, better, because and here we can see that the lowest is the political empowerment sub-index. Like, they don't let, for example, women to get into politics, like being presidents, being in the having those like more power to make those decisions for a country. And here we can see like the same sub indexes, but in a more in yearly data, be like from 2006 to 2022. We can see that we been getting better because, well, the closer we are to one, it's better. And in this, and also there's a list of all the countries from the country with the lowest gender gap to the country with the highest gender gap. Here we can see that Iceland is the one that has the lowest, and Afghanistan is the one that has the highest for, well, a lot. But sadly, any of the countries haven't achieved the number one, the score one, that it will be the best. So now we have to understand the reasons of why this happens from a geocultural point of view. The why this keeps happening in different magnitudes in some countries than in others. So there's a ton of reasons of why this keeps happening, but of course in different magnitudes in different countries. Mainly the culture, and how it's difficult to change a culture. We cannot change a culture, but we can change the way of thinking of the people. I know it's very difficult, but how they see their power and their dynamics, how they're going to arrange those. But it's difficult for a lot of countries because of their religion, mainly because not all even though they say they have separated the state from the I want to say church, but from the religion, it's almost false. That because there's they keep making those decisions based on that, because it's almost impossible to only think that way and not being like influenced from that thing, from those things that have been all in your whole life. But I didn't say impossible, I said almost. So it's something very difficult to do, but we can see that it's very different from all the cultures and all the religions. Because, for example, me as a Mexican and Catholic girl, I don't have the same. I have more, for example, more rights, more opportunities than an Afghanistan Muslim girl, for example. I can make more decision for myself. I can have more education, for example, than a lot of them. And thanks to these gender inequalities, have explored a lot of things like feminism. The feminism is a very difficult and extend topic to talk about, because a lot of people think that feminism just search for the women to be better than men, and that's completely false. They don't seek to be better than men. They seek equality, just that. To Of course, we cannot have exactly the same things because we have different necessities, but to search for have the same opportunities, that we can get the same jobs, for example, get the same education, or simply do not being killed every day. Not have to find 11 women dead every day only in Mexico, not talking about all other countries, or have more rights, because if there were talking about main rights, will be completely different topic. So for our proposal, this is not an easy challenge to solve. As I know, as a 19-year-old girl, I cannot solve this from the night to the today, and I cannot solve it to a global way, because there have been a lot of other women that have tried, and they keep trying, but they haven't achieved it. But I know if we can get together and try as a team, we can do it, and have and use all of these resources we have, social media, internet, everything we can do to expand, to talk about it. Because one of the things that no one of the things, the main thing that affects that is affecting this is disinformation, that people doesn't want to learn more, doesn't want to read, doesn't care to understand things. And mainly and I don't want to sound rude, but this is mainly, as I what I have seen and learned, is because of older generations, because they excuse themselves with, I'm too old for this, that was this in my time, and I want to stick to this. No, they don't have to stick with something. They can keep changing, they can keep learning, but they don't want. And okay, we leave them think like that, but those way of thinking of those older generations are sticking to the new generations, and we have to focus more on those new generation, in little girls, little boys, little everyone, to know they can fight this, they can have the same opportunities if they fight for them, they speak, they raise their voices and ask for them. Not only politely, if because we have tried tons of polite ways, and I don't hear polite. It sounds bad, but it's real. So, conclusion. Why do I think it's important to consider the cultural aspect of an issue? Because, well, of course, the issues, we can have this exactly same issues, but not every society, not every country can handle the same way, because the form of living, there's some things they can do because of their resources, and other countries they can. So what role did they play in the planification of your proposal? Well, something that it's almost real, almost all the countries have now access to internet. Of course they don't, because I'm not closing to only focus on expand the voice in by internet. Also going to those to little communities and teach them and tell them, you can do this. If you really want to do this, you can do this. We can find companies that can help us to like give those opportunities to little girls, little boys that doesn't have those opportunities. What is your role as as a professional in culturally globalization work? Well, I'm going to study biotechnology that and specialize in pharmaceutic. There's not a lot of things that this issue like affects or I can solve with those things, but one thing I can know I can fix is the health, because there are sometimes that we can that they don't want to give, like they don't want to operate a girl in a little community because there are only men doctors, and men doctors doesn't can 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 see a women's body naked, for example. I know we can change that. We can change that point of view because everyone needs to have the same health opportunities. Thank you very much. This is the end of my presentation. Goodbye.